What's up, yo? We're back,
So great.
episode 3, and we're going to be recapping uh, the best 4 days in sports. We had, I believe it
Always.
was 16 games on, and my AirPods just died. 16 games on, I believe it was Thursday and Friday, and then 8 games yesterday and Saturday, and extremely eventful. Um,
As always.
extremely eventful, for sure. Uh, so there's a lot to talk about. Not that many upsets, unfortunately. I was expecting more. Uh, but we're going to talk about some of
There
the
was a few.
main events. What did you say?
There was a few. There was a few
Yeah,
upsets.
no, there was a few. There was a few. There was a few good ones, but not as much as I expected, especially because of the how many upsets there were in the conference tournament games. I thought there were
True.
going to be more. All right, so let's start off. We're going to Oakland, Kentucky first. 14
What a
seeded
game.
Oakland. 14 seeded Oakland comes out on top, 80 to 676. Jack Golke, 32 points, 10 of 20 from
Oh,
the three. He took like 3 dribbles the entire game. It was actually insane. That's one of the most impressive
yeah.
performances I've seen from a guy who was at a D2 school last year
For
and
four
is
years, yeah.
now at
4 years.
Oakland. Yeah,
Four
no,
years. And just watching him play, it was electrifying. Just for a guy who seemingly isn't the most exciting player to watch when you think about it, only taking a few dribbles, just shooting the ball every chance he gets, and taking high percentage shots for him. Those were all good shots for him. I did some research in terms of his draft stock, because there was talk about possibilities of him being drafted, but signs are pointing to no.
hmm
Obviously, he's undersized and not very athletic, and the main concern would be defense. But it was definitely a lot of fun to watch him play, and that whole team. That was a good team. Oakland was a good team. Townsend,
hmm
number 4, that kid was a beast, especially in NC State versus Oakland, which was a phenomenal game as well. That was
Yeah,
crazy, crazy game. I know we're still talking about kind of that first game against Kentucky, but wow, they really kind of came out and punched everyone in the mouth that they played.
hmm
So
yeah.
definitely a lot of
Townsend
fun.
had 30 and 13 against NC State. And
Ridiculous.
Golke also had 22 that game, and he shot like I'm pretty sure it was a little bit worse in the first game, but he still had like 9 or 10 threes.
Yeah,
And it was pretty efficient too. It was like somewhere in the 40% range.
which is
Um,
great.
but they fell short to NC State. I don't remember the score exactly, but I know it was an OT game,
It was an
and
OT game.
it kind of went back and forth for a little bit there, and then NC State kind of pulled it out at the end because uh, Oakland couldn't hit a shot.
I think
Uh,
they lost by like 6.
yeah, no, it was very close. But honestly, I'm a little bit like great game from Oakland, but for Kentucky there are some questions to be answered. All season long they have been extremely inconsistent. Their defense is awful. I'm pretty sure they rank 100 and something in defensive efficiency this year. They're one of the worst defensive teams in all of Power Five and probably in the middle of the pack of all of college basketball for D1. Their defense is bad and they're extremely inexperienced. And at a certain point, I want to know what your thoughts are on John Calipari's job security at this point.
I mean, the the resume shows for itself, man. You can't be a school like that with coming in always with such high expectations and then falling. Something obviously has to change, and it's not the players. Clearly, he's getting the highest level players. He has 3 or 4 players that are going to projected to be drafted. He also had players who have been in the program for a good amount of time, you know, and it was a well put together team, and there was just really no excuse. And you just at this point have to look to the coaching, because that's truly what the problem was. Like we talked about, like you were talking about, the defense just obviously a problem, and that drives from the coach. You know what I mean? And I know
Mhm.
both of us, when we played, defense was huge for us always. It's the
Yeah.
turning point of the game. Defense wins championships. That's what's always talked about.
hmm
And if you're not able to produce on the defensive end, rattle a team, force turnovers, you're not going to be able to find success. So I think
For
that's my
sure.
opinion. I also want to know opinion on DJ Wagner and that whole situation
Oh
there.
yeah, yeah. I want to first talk about Calipari because he's one of those guys. He's so like historically, he's on the higher tier of college coaches all time. Um, he's one of those guys where no matter what happens, you can't fire him. He's not fireable. It's like Izzo. It's like Krzyzewski before he retired. Roy Williams, stuff like that. Like you cannot fire John Calipari. But you have to look at the past 4 or 5 years. The past 4 or 5 tournaments, I believe it's 5. This year, lost to Oakland in the first round. Last year, they were a 6 seed. They lost to NC State.
That's right.
2021 or 2022, they lost in the first round to St. Peter's. 2021, they missed the tournament completely. And because there was no tournament in 2020 and 2019 was the last time that they made it to the Sweet 16, that they made it to the second weekend of March Madness. The past, and it's not even like they've had bad teams. I mean, that 2021 team was pretty bad. They won like 6 games in a shortened season. They were not great in 2021. In 2022, they had the National Player of the Year. I believe Oscar Schwebe was the National Player of the Year in 2022. And then if you look at this year, they have 2 guys that are probably going to be top 10. I think Antonio Reeves is going to be somewhere in the first round, maybe a late second round guy.
Pretty sure late first round.
Yeah, no, they have NBA level talent, and there's no excuse that they should lose a game to Oakland in the first round, especially after the way they finished the regular season.
You have to give them credit. That was a good Oakland team.
No, yeah, Oakland. I mean, they're a good team. They almost made it to the Sweet 16. The talent that they have on their team, they can't play defense. None of them know how to play defense. And I think the rotations are a problem. Rob Dillingham and Reece Sheppard both off the bench for the entire season when your offense is lacking in the starting lineup. To me, I think that not both of them, but one of them has to start at some point, right? If Rob Dillingham's going to be a top 5 pick, most likely in this year's draft, he's extremely talented with the ball in his hands, and he's going to create for other guys. And I understand the spark plug off the bench type of thing, but that's what Reece Sheppard's for because he's the best defender on the team by far.
Yeah, that's what. I also want to add in a little bit on that because when you, I could understand the term, the decision by John Calipari to keep Rob Dillingham on the bench because I know he's spoken on this before. Rob Dillingham is a bit of a wild card, in terms of the way he plays the game. You do see questionable decisions, questionable shots from him, but I feel once you got to a bit of the halfway point in the season and saw he was really performing at that level, there was no real reason to keep him on the bench, and I feel like that was definitely a questionable decision by him. And Reece Sheppard, like you said before, great on the defensive end and also on the offensive end as well, produces. And I don't know, that was definitely a questionable decision, especially when guys that are starting like DJ Wagner that we talked about were not performing as well.
Yeah, no, DJ Wagner 0 points against Oakland. He extremely underperformed this year. He was number 4 ranked prospect in 2023 recruiting class. He was hot. He was up there. He was top 5 for sure.
Listen, for 4 years in the class of 2023, he was the first ranked player.
Yeah, but I don't think he ended as the first. I think Justin Edwards was the number 1 guy at the end. And Edwards is on Kentucky also. He had 10 points.
Yeah.
As a starter. He started most of the season. He was not amazing at all. And I think he's got a transfer probably because I don't know if he fits there. But DJ Wagner, 0 points. Rob Dillingham had 10 off the bench, and Reece Sheppard had 3. So you didn't get much of a performance out of your top freshman guys, which is probably the reason why you lost. When your best players don't play the best, bad things tend to happen.
That's what happened.
But yeah, I mean,
I also wanted to talk a little bit more about DJ Wagner there too, because for me, I was extremely high on him coming out of high school. Because if you just look at his style of play and do a little film study on him, obviously not while at Kentucky, but before then, he was great in terms of creating shots. He did not waste a dribble. You know what I mean? And that was just, he was able to create for himself, create for teammates. Extremely high basketball IQ, could control the floor, long, athletic. So I'm just surprised, really. I mean, that's all I could really say because it was just so underwhelming and just disappointing to see.
Yeah, there are a couple guys in this recruiting class that have kind of underperformed.
Yeah, no, most definitely.
And one of them happens to be on Michigan State, Xavier Booker. But we can talk about that in a minute. But yeah, they disappointed. There's definitely some major questions to be asked. And Oakland, they went into it with nothing to lose, and they ended up winning the game. Unfortunately, their run came to an end to NC State, who's now in their first Sweet 16 appearance since 2015. They got some hoopers on that team.
That team was hot, man.
DJ Burns, he's a dog. No one can guard DJ Burns on the low
Dude,
block.
he's a monster. And also something I want to talk about. I don't know if you noticed, dude. He could stay in the game for a big guy.
Yeah, no, yeah, he's
He
got
could give the
longevity. There
minutes.
are a lot of
That's
big,
scary.
big. Colorado had a guy Lampkin who was pretty big also, and he played for most of the
Right.
game. And they came out short against Marquette, but he's another
He's
one that's
also
just like
good.
one of these bigger big men are starting to come back and like starting to take over the
Love
league.
it.
They had a
I love it.
Rob Avila from Indiana State, the dude with the rec specs. He's like one of the best players in mid major, and
Yeah,
unfortunately his team didn't make the tournament. But
I don't.
he's
Yeah,
extremely
that's
exciting.
we didn't talk about that, and that was crazy because I really thought they were a tournament team that probably could have made a run. Um, you know, and obviously, I mean personally, I would have liked to see Indiana State in the tournament over like a team like Kentucky. You know,
Well,
that's
they
me.
wouldn't have made it over Kentucky, but I think if they
Obviously
were a
not.
playing team, if they were a playing team over Virginia, I would have loved to see that. That's just me though, personally. But I guess because of the lack of quad one and quad two wins, the committee
And
didn't
just
think that
like competition that they're playing,
they
it
were
makes
good
sense.
enough to get in. And when they played the good teams, they played Michigan State and they got blown out by like 10 plus. I get it was a home game, it was an away game for them, and Michigan State did not lose a lot at their home court. So that's the first game we're talking about. The second game, Auburn Yale. Auburn Yale. I don't even know what to say about this, man.
What did I
You
say?
you said it, but you did tell me that you changed your pick.
I did change my pick just because of your reasoning, but dude, I was high
I
on
just
Yale.
I
I
don't know
told
what
you.
to say.
It's those
I don't.
teams that are able to it was able to slow Auburn down. That's what they did. And that's Auburn's game. They play quick, they play fast, they play athletic, and
Mhm.
they were able to play good defense and stay in front of Auburn, and they shot the ball well, and that's what they do. And that's how they came on top.
I don't even know what to say, to be honest with you. They were my championship runner-ups in my bracket, so that right there kind of screwed me. But yeah, Yale's first tournament win since 2015, 2016. John Polikades, 67% from the field, 28 points. Um, he was a dog. He was clutch for them down the end, especially when Danny Wolf fouled out. Uh,
Exactly.
he was big for them. And I mean Auburn just with an all-time choke. I mean, there were a lot of chokes in this first round. Dayton, Nevada. That was one that really hurt my soul a little bit too
Oh
because I
my
had Nevada in my
god.
Sweet 16. They blew a 17-point lead in the second
I had them
half.
going on a bit of a
Not even in
run.
the second half. It was the last 10 minutes of the game where they just fell apart.
Yeah,
That
and
was another hard watch. But yeah, they missed two free throws. Trey Donaldson, an 83% free throw shooter, missed both free throws to tie the game. They got the rebound, got blocked on both layup attempts, and then KJ Johnson, who's not a shooter, pulls up and misses short on a 3-pointer, and Yale wins. I didn't really watch much of this game because I was watching Florida and Colorado, which was
you were
to
hot
me
on
a more
Florida.
entertaining game, and I love Florida. I love watching Florida. Unfortunately, another team that I had going far that got knocked out early. But Colorado and Florida, defense was optional in that game. It was 102 to 100, and KJ Simpson with just a Kawhi Leonard buzzer beater, absolutely insane. I was just doing laundry and I was looking at it, and I was speechless. I just was in the laundry room and I just went,
Yeah,
what
when you texted
what
me
I just
about that
see? Like,
Nevada game, I was like,
oh
oh
yeah,
my god, because I was taking a test and I checked the score right before I went into the test, and I'm like, oh, thank
yeah,
God. And then I come out and
brutal.
I see your text. I'm like, oh man, like
Just an absolute collapse. Absolutely,
I
just
mean, what was the run? What was the run? It was 20, 24
uh,
to what?
I think it was 24 to 4 or 26 to
Jesus
4. It was
Christ.
something like that.
God,
They
call a timeout.
well, they did. It didn't matter.
I mean,
Dane was just on a heater. Danny Santos, I believe is no, not Danny Santos. What's his name? I forgot his name.
Kobe
Something
Kobe
Santos.
Brea.
No, not Kobe Brea. It was Santos. I forgot his first name. I think it's actually
Kobe
Danny.
Brea's a dog. Shout out Kobe Brea.
He he had like no points in the second half or in the entire game, and then he has 7 straight. Um, and they end up losing. So that was another tough watch. But yeah, I don't really have much to say about Auburn Yale aside from that. I mean, just whatever. Yale's out. They got smoked last night by San Diego State, who has another just cakewalk run to the Sweet 16 like they did last year. But now they got to go up against an absolute wagon in UConn, and they'll probably end up getting just bombed. They might get actually 40 piece. This UConn team does not look beatable. I'm not gonna lie to you. They don't.
They got some.
They
Dogs.
don't look beatable.
And you look at
Disgusting.
What do you call it? Purdue, dude. Purdue's looking nice, and I know it was Wagner, but still putting up 106.
No, against
Like,
Utah
yeah,
State, yeah. No,
oh
that
no,
was just
Utah.
I can't stand Purdue. So
Yeah,
I
no,
hate
I
watching Purdue
you
play.
hate Zach
Just to
Edey.
be honest with you, but I am biased. I am biased. I'm biased. I hate watching Purdue play. I have a lot of things to say about Zach Edey, but I'm just gonna leave it at that. I hate Zach Edey. I think he's
I do too.
the most baby. I think he's the most baby pampered player in all of college sports. I've never seen anybody get the treatment that he has gotten throughout the entire season. He can elbow people. He can shove people. Doesn't matter because he's gonna get the foul call no matter what. So I don't even want to like. It just gets me fired up a little bit. I'm just gonna avoid talking about it.
You can't say that he's the best player in college basketball.
No, because he's not. He's not.
No,
He
okay,
could be
listen,
the
I don't like
best.
Zach Edey either, but
Look, bro, if you look at the stats, he is the best player in college basketball. But if we're looking at just overall, Dalton Connect to me is the best player in basketball. Because without Dalton Connect,
me too,
Tennessee's not good without Dalton Connect.
dude,
He's the X factor on that team.
freaking dog. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, he to me is the Naismith player of the year. I'm sorry. Plays in a better conference, more skilled, is more valuable to his team, in my opinion, than Zach Edey is. Because without Zach Edey, no one on the team is going to score. At least for Purdue, they have 2 guys who can score over 10 points a game, and they play decent defense. But I think Dalton Connect's the Naismith Player of the Year. He probably won't win it because the media loves Zach Edey because he puts up video game numbers and he's 7'4" and he can't play defense.
No, he cannot.
That's just me though. I don't know. I hate Zach Edey. I hate Zach Edey. Just I'm going to leave it at that. All right. Now that we're done with that, let's go on to Creighton, Oregon. One of 2 of probably the best games of the tournament so far. I think it's one of the best games of the season up to this point. An absolute I don't even know. I don't even know how to describe it. It was crazy. I was up till like 1 a.m. watching this game. That's when it ended. It started at like 9, ended at like 12, 1 a.m. This game took forever.
Really great teams. Creighton was a good team,
I have Creighton in my Final Four. I was sweating that game out for the entire time. Shout out to Oregon, though. They have some dogs. Jermaine Korsnod or Koisnard or whatever. He had 32 and 8 rebounds. South Carolina transfer. He had 40 against South Carolina in the first round. So he's a beast. And then Nafali Dante, 28 and 20, and he played 48 minutes. He played basically the whole game for them. And in the second half, they scored every single point. Second half, overtime, and both overtimes, only one player scored 2 points on Oregon, and the rest were Dante and Korsnod. Koisnard or whatever. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. It's a difficult last name to pronounce.
I was really enjoying watching Oregon. I mean, that they're an athletic team.
They were electric. You would think that they were out of it, and they would just fight right back into it. That's a testament to their coaching for sure, and their guys are bought in for they ran through the Pac-12, Arizona and Washington State. They didn't have to play Washington State, but they would have had to play Washington State. Both those teams made it to the second round. Arizona's in the Sweet 16 now, and they beat them by 10 plus. So this Oregon team is extremely talented. They had this, Brennan Rigsby, the kid, the high school kid who did the East Bay dunk.
Yes, Washa Academy, dude.
Yeah, no, yeah, he's on that team. He had 0 points, but he's on that team.
He's young.
He's like a junior, I think. I don't even know if he's young
He's
anymore.
a
I don't remember
sophomore.
how old that clip is. But yeah, double overtime game. Creighton pulls it out. Four players for Creighton that scored 17 plus. Baylor Shireman with a clutch fadeaway to, I believe, bring the game to the second overtime, if I remember that correctly. Ryan Kalkbrenner had 5 blocks, 19 points, 14 rebounds. He's one of the most dominant centers in all of college basketball. Him and Klingon on UConn is they're probably the two best centers in college basketball. Ashworth, their point guard, 21 points. Trey Alexander, 20 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. They don't have a shot they don't like. They'll pull forever. They'll do whatever. They always think they have the green light, and they have extreme confidence. And they're very well coached. They play great defense, and they were possession away from the Final Four last year. So there's no like they could go back. They have a tough opponent in Tennessee in the next round. They do. That's going to be an extremely fun game to watch.
Oh man.
It's gonna be whoever. It's gonna come down to whoever has like base. I feel like it's gonna come down to whoever has the ball last.
Oh, for
Because
sure.
this team is gonna this game is gonna be like 80-80. Two good defensive teams, but two teams that offensively they're gonna outmatch their defense for sure. So that was
Yeah,
exciting.
I'm curious to see how both coaches will kind of approach each other.
Hmm.
I mean, how will Creighton kind of game plan?
I think the game plan for Crane is pretty simple. Just stop, don't connect.
I mean, you could say that. I mean, that's pretty simple until he starts going off. I could definitely see a box and one working
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what's gonna happen. We'll see. I think if you stop, don't connect, you stop Tennessee.
without a doubt. Like you said before, he's their whole team. So
And I think I trust Creighton's guards more than I trust Sakai Ziegler in Tennessee. But Sakai Ziegler, New York legend, so I'm rooting for him for sure. All right, on to the second best game of the season, in my opinion. Houston A&M. That was another game that I stayed up till like 1 a.m. watching. I mean, honestly, I
God, that
think
game
like the
was
last,
crazy.
I think overtime took about 25, 30 minutes. Like that game just went on forever. It was just never ending.
Crazy.
Um, yeah, that game was wild.
What a fight by A&M though. They
A
really,
and
really. I
M
mean,
they were down like 81-69 with like 3 minutes left, and they
they
came
were
back, forced
outmatched,
overtime.
bro. They were outmatched, and they really, really came roaring back, and they gave it their all. I mean, you got to hand it to that
Hmm.
team.
Yeah,
Showed a ton of heart, ton of effort, um,
yeah,
and just to be able to surge back, that's I mean, it's phenomenal. So I
they
mean,
brought
good
it to
team.
them too. Like they were not afraid of Houston. They were not. They were not intimidated by Houston at all. Houston's the top three defensive team in the country, and they were not intimidated whatsoever. They shot, what was it? What did I write down here? They shot 45 free throws.
Christ.
They went 29 of 45. So that's a bad
Holy shit!
percentage. That's
Yeah,
awful.
holy crap! I
That's
did
like
not know that. Oh my
that's
god.
like 67%, I believe. Is somewhere around there. That's terrible. That's terrible. You have that many free throws, and Tyrese Radford, who had 27 and 15 rebounds in 41 minutes, he missed. I think he missed 2 free throws at the end of the game.
Yeah, that's right.
Those were bad misses. Wade Taylor with an absolute chuck at the end of the game. He shot 19% from the field and had 21 points. He's another one of those guys who just doesn't like. He's the green light wherever. He's a beast. Uh, he's a great player. Two great guards. Two tough competitors. And it was just an interesting game just all around because you go into overtime. LJ Cryer fouls out in regulation, right? What is that on the screen? Do you see that? That's a second time that's happened. Oh, I think it's
I
because I
didn't
went
see it the
like
first.
this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't even know. Also, LJ Cryer, LJ Cryer fouls out in the second half, at the end of the second half. So they're without their second best scorer. And then Emmanuel Sharp, who had 7 threes, 30 points, he was on a heater this entire game, kept them in the entire time, fouls out in the middle of OT. So now you're without your second best option, the guy who has 7 threes in the game, and then your starting point guard Jamal Shed, who is one of the best players in the Big 12, one of the best players in the country, and he's out of the game now. So you're rocking out there with a walk-on senior, Ryan Elvin, walk-on senior. He hits one of 2 free throws and basically ices the game. He basically ices the game, man. I mean, 3 starters for Houston fouled out.
Yeah,
within the
that's huge,
last
and that's big.
7 minutes.
When you're
Yeah.
looking at performance for just coming games, and dude, they're deep. You know,
hmm No, they are deep. They're scary, but the only thing that scares me is that if they get into a shootout like this, can they really produce? I don't think that A&M was the greatest team, but they scored 95 and 98 in their 2 games that they played. So they played their 2 best offensive games of the season, and unfortunately, they were just outmatched. They didn't shoot free throws well. There were a lot of ticky tack calls that probably could have been waved off a little bit, but both teams were playing physical, and both teams wanted to win. They playing like it's the Final Four and they're playing for national championship, which they are. But like it didn't seem like a round of 32 game. It seemed like a Final Four game. So that to me was the second best game of the season.
can we
Extremely
talk
entertaining.
about Clemson, New Mexico, and just Clemson as a whole as a team?
Oh yeah, Clemson surprised me, to
Me
be
too,
honest
as
with you.
well.
I did not think that Clemson was going to. I had them losing to New Mexico in the first round, and then New
Yeah,
Mexico just shot the ball awful from three,
yeah. I mean,
and then Jamal Mashburn Jr. just entered the transfer portal, so they're losing their second leading scorer, New Mexico. So that kind of sucks. I hope he comes to Michigan State, but they're losing their second best scorer. Clemson lost like 4 of their last 5. They lost to Boston College in the first round of the ACC tournament. Um, I came into them with low expectations. I really didn't look too far into them. PJ Hall didn't even like their best player didn't even have to really do much, to be honest. I mean, everybody else in their team
no,
really
he didn't do much.
really showed out.
Joe Girard, dude, he
Joe
shot the ball
Girard,
really well,
yes, yeah. In the first New Mexico game, he did, but then Hunter
and
in the
also
uh, in the
in
second
that
game
second game,
against Baylor, yeah, and they
yeah.
almost lost. Like they wanted to so bad
Dude,
lose that game.
I think
They were throwing that game, and
Ba-
Baylor just choked it.
Baylor lost that game more than Clemson won that game, without a doubt. I
I
mean,
agree. I agree.
dude, those I gotta forget his name.
You can't
Um,
you can't miss free throws in the
Number
in the clutch
4,
like
dude,
that.
he
You can't.
missed 2 free throws, crucial
Yeah,
free throws
Jacoby
at the end of the
Walter,
game to keep them in the game, and
which sucks
that
because he was having a great game, and he's
great
he's
game.
young. He's 18. He's like 18. He's going to be a
He's
top 15 pick.
problem. He's gonna be a
He's
problem
a
for
great
Kentucky.
scorer. It's just Baylor's defense just all season, like just like Kentucky, they just have not been good. They turn the ball over too much. They don't force enough turnovers. But they're deep offensively. They're deep offensively. They have 2 guys that are going to be lottery picks, most likely. Ray J. Dennis had a great game, and he just had a questionable take at the end of the game where he decided to do a step back 3-pointer, and I'm pretty sure he
Yeah, that
airballed
was
it.
a bad shot.
But yeah, that was just I don't know. Clemson surprised me. They made it to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2019 or 2018. I'm pretty sure it's one of those two. But yeah, it's the first time in a while that they've gone there, and I was really low on them just based on how they ended the season. But they've surprised me.
Most
Yeah, they
definitely.
did. So on to I think the final game we're going to talk about, unless you wanted to talk about another game, Alabama GCU. Just an absolute dogfight. Just there was just it looked like I was watching like a football game out there. Like this shit was crazy. Everyone was just they were just so many fouls, so many loose balls, so many turnovers. GCU really kind of sold themselves in the fourth quarter. They just went one
Yeah,
on one
that
ball. They
second
were taking awful
second game,
shots. Tyon Grant Foster, he's a dog. He's like
dude,
6'7"
he's a
point guard.
beast.
He's dropped 29 points in this game. And they just were terrible. They shot 10% from three. So that's what really killed them. In a game against a team like Alabama, who even then, they play with a high pace. They score a lot of points. They dropped 107 against Charleston. They want to push the pace. They want to shoot threes. They want to score as many points as possible. They only had 72 points. So you did the good job of slowing them down. The only problem was the game plan was just poor on offense.
You
No
have to
one really knew what they were
capitalize on the
doing.
other end.
Yeah, they didn't run a single set play. It was just one-on-one basketball for the last 10 minutes of the game. They were getting out rebounded where there was 4 guys in the paint, and they let the 2 guys in Alabama get the rebound. Mohamed Diabate, he's a freshman. He had a huge game down the stretch. He had like 6 points in a row. And a guy who gets limited minutes doesn't score very much. That was huge for them. And Mark Sears, dog. Mark Sears is a dog. That mother can play. He's a dog.
He could let that thing fly too. He could really shoot the ball.
He can.
Something I
He
wanted
had
to
26, 3
yeah,
steals.
something I want to look at for GCU just in terms of the entire game. Like you said, they did a good job of slowing them down, weren't able to capitalize on the other end. But when rebounding the ball, it's not like they were that much smaller than Alabama. GCU's a pretty big team.
Yeah.
They weren't necessarily outsized. So, I mean, that's just kind of an aspect of who wants it more and who's willing to do their assignment. And obviously they weren't, and they ended up throwing that game in the second quarter. And yeah, I mean, it's sad because they had a lot of momentum coming into that game too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both teams it looked like both teams didn't even want to win that game, to be honest with you. Alabama, 50 rebounds, 41 rebounds for GCU, and 25% from the field when they average 36, and they shoot 47% from three. No, 47% from the field. They shot 36% from the field against GCU, 25% from three, and then 36% from the field at the season overall. Just an all around just sloppy game. Was fun to watch though. I will say you that was fun to watch. But now Alabama has to take on UNC in the second round. Let's talk about I want to talk about one more game because let's talk about Michigan State UNC. Just a little bit here. Thank God the season's over for Michigan State. This has been a absolute disaster. Obviously, I would love to see them go back to the Sweet 16, but this is just something this is a wake up call that they needed bad after the season. This season was an absolute travesty. You go in preseason rank 4, you get punched in the mouth in your home court against James Madison. Like, James Madison's a good team. They won a game in the tournament. I thought they were going to go to the Sweet 16. They got absolutely smoked by Jared McCain and Duke, 30 points. And I'm like, how many threes do you have? Like 8? Something like that? Yeah, he was just absolutely lighting it up.
Threes. Dude, oh my God. I know we're talking about Michigan State UNC right now, but holy crap. He just came in with confidence. And, dude, he hit 5 in a row.
He was just absolutely smoking them.
And
he was smoking them.
I love how he's playing with confidence. I like Jared McCain a lot. I think he'd be a great fit for the Knicks, but that's just me. But no, definitely. He was really, really, really on fire.
Yeah. So back to Michigan State. This game, honestly, it was so winnable. So winnable. They were up at a certain point by 12.
Started off hot.
Yeah, they started off hot. And it's just all year they've started off hot, and they can't keep it together for the entire game. That's all I'm going to say. All season long, they have not been able to keep it together for an entire game, except for Baylor and Illinois. 2 big wins, obviously, against ranked opponents. 2 teams that, Baylor was a 3 seed. Illinois is in the Sweet 16 right now as a 3 seed. They look like the best offensive team in college basketball. Terrence Shannon's on a heater. But they haven't been able to put together a complete game all season long. Defensively, they looked terrible. Xavier Booker, I love him. I love Xavier Booker. I think he's going to be a star in college basketball next year. He's going to put on more weight. He's going to be more developed as just an overall player. He gives you so much offensively because he can stretch the floor. He can shoot the ball. But rebounding and defense-wise, he is not there yet. There were times last game where he's just caught ball watching and gets backdoor cut by Harrison Ingram. And, Harrison Ingram has a career high in threes, or a season high in threes. It might even be a career high. He had 5. No one decided to pick up on him. Elliot Kadu can't shoot the ball. Love him also.
This is something I noticed throughout the game. They were giving him so much space.
Yeah, and that was probably the game plan coming in because he has been bad all season shooting.
Yeah, but he's not a bad shooter. He could shoot the ball.
I just think he just has no confidence. I just think he doesn't want to mess up. But he is young. I think, what is he, 18? 17, 18? He left the school early, 17. Right?
He reclassed.
Yeah, he left school early.
In order to, but he might have reclassed before that. But anyways, that's besides the point.
Mm-hmm.
The entire time, anytime he picked up the ball off a dribble handoff, wide open shot, dude. And that's a shot
Yeah.
that he has to take. And especially if he wants to be able to play in the NBA, that's a shot he just has to take. Has to.
Hmm.
And then you
Yeah.
see when RJ Davis hits the ball, coming off one of the dribble handoffs, they are hedging it, coming right up after it, and just like he needs to be able to develop into more of a shooter. But I think also Michigan State really had a difficulty defending the post game against Armando Bacot.
Baycott. Yeah.
I mean,
It
obviously
was just
he's a
embarrassing.
seasoned college basketball player. He's been here before, but
He's been there way
I
before. He was there in 2019.
way before dog.
Him and Trayvon Duvall played on the same IG Academy team.
Yeah,
Remember Trayvon
I
Duvall? Remember him?
of course
Yeah.
I do.
He's been out of college for 4 years.
Jeez.
I don't even know what happened to Trayvon Duvall, to be honest with you.
I don't think he
Probably
was
in the
in the
G League,
NBA.
right? I don't know. I don't know why he even went to the NBA, but he was really good in high school. Anyways, yeah, so thank God the season's over. The seniors are gone. Tyson Walker will be missed by the entire state of Michigan, except for the University of Michigan fans because they're salty that they suck. But they did hire Dusty May, so maybe they'll get John Yale Davis and Vladislav Golden on their team. That was FAU's head coach, Dusty May, if you didn't know. So, but yeah, Tyson Walker, he'll be missed. Malik Hall this season in big games showed up big. AJ Hogard, I just thank God he's gone. The guy just it's hard to watch sometimes. He can't hit a layup. He's a good playmaker and a decent defender, but aside from that, he's not really anything special. Mai Sissoko, he's gone. Thank God he's gone. He can't catch a
You
basketball.
guys got to figure out how to
But
use
yeah, no,
Cole
we're gonna
Porter
bring
still.
in. Oh, they're next year they should be good though. If I'm being honest, like,
You guys should have been
should
good
I
this
wait for you
year.
to come? No, but
They were
like,
good.
no, they'll be no, next year they'll be fine though. I think that this is like a wake up call for Izzo, and they're gonna be like, yeah, no, let's go to the portal. Like, let's get guys out of the portal. Um, let's
I think that
bring
would
in
be
a
better
big
for
man who
them.
can spread the floor. Like, they need a five who can space the floor, or at least just be better in the post than Carson Cooper is, because he's probably gonna be the starting center next year. Xavier Booker's not a center; he's a four. He's just not big enough or
If
strong
you
enough
got
to
someone
be
like a
to guard
PJ
a
Hall, I
five.
feel like that would be great.
I think PJ Hall's a senior, but
No, I think
even
so
then,
too.
I
I
mean,
was just
just
saying.
bring in a five who can has good post moves, because we don't have a five who can play in the post. Xavier Booker will probably run the
And a
four.
five who could
I'm
shoot
excited
the
to see
ball.
what Jeremy Fears does next year, though. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Jeremy Fears, but he's good. Like, he probably would have taken over AJ Hogard's starting spot if he didn't unfortunately get shot. So, like, unfortunately he got hurt, and like, it sucks because he was playing great before. I mean, defensively, he was probably our best defensive point guard. He runs the floor well. He's fast. He's shifty. He's got a good floater, to be honest. He's a small dude, so it's good to have a good floater.
Good shot.
But I expect to see a huge step up in preparation and just overall play next year from our guys, because it's been a while since Izzo has made it back to the Elite Eight. They went to the Sweet 16 last year. Their
Yeah,
last
that's
Final
right.
Four appearance was 2019, and they probably would have went back in 2020 because they were just as good in 2020 as they were in 2019.
Yeah, that's right.
But COVID cut that short. Trey Holloman, I'm expecting to see big things out of him next year. He took a big leap from last year to this year. He'll be the starting shooting guard or maybe the backup point guard, depending on Jeremy Fears or Jaden Akins, where they're going to play. They're bringing in Jace Richardson, who has got, his dad's an alumni of Michigan State, Jason Richardson, NBA. Is he a Hall of Famer? Probably not, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, but he was a really good NBA player. Kurt Tang, he's a good shooting guard who could shoot the ball. Jesse McCullough is a 3-star center from Ohio, so he's got some grit probably, because Ohio kids are usually pretty gritty. And I think they just got to use the portal, because Izzo refuses to use the portal, and I think that kind of kills them a little bit, because you're bringing in these guys who are really young and are inexperienced, and you don't have time, Izzo, because he's getting up there in age. I mean, he's probably got at least 4 or 5 years left. I think he's gonna want to maybe make a Final Four, maybe win a national championship before he retires. But I just don't see a way that they make a Final Four or a national championship with the way that they are currently trying to build their talent. But they do have some talent. They just need to better prepare in the offseason. Cohen Carr needs to produce a jump shot, because they're just not even playing defense on him when he gets the ball. but he's a spark plug. I mean, the guy he's probably got the highest vertical in all of basketball. Him or Anthony Edwards. It's insane. This guy's like got trampolines in his shoes, dude. It's actually unreal to see. But yeah, I mean that's just my thoughts on Michigan State. UNC, they're cool or whatever. But yeah, they gotta. You want to talk about them? All right, go.
Yeah,
Talk about
I'm a UNC fan. I don't know. I just don't know about this team. Just because I mean they're definitely one of the weaker one seeds, as opposed to a team like UConn, you know. Um, and I just don't know. Like I was expecting so much from LA Cadu of coming out of high school. And I'm obviously disappointed with his play this season, especially because he was able to shoot the ball beforehand, and that's been kind of tough for me to watch. I mean, you're gonna have a great player in Ian Jackson coming in new.
it. Yo, your camera is fucked.
Yeah,
All right,
dude. I
I
don't
think
know
you're good
what's
now. I think you're good now, though.
Ian Jackson coming in, and I feel like he'll be a great replacement for RJ Davis if he doesn't somehow end up coming back. I don't know if he has a COVID year or something like that, but
I don't think so. I think he's already a fifth
uh,
year.
yeah, but most definitely he'll be exciting to watch. But currently, I don't know, dude. I feel like a team like Arizona could maybe for a lot of hate just because of how long he's been in college basketball for, but there's no denying that he's a beast. He's a beast. He could score in the post. He can distribute the ball. Great footwork. Um, but I guess just time will tell, and we'll see.
For sure. All right. So before we go, preview some of the Sweet 16 matchups, some of the matchups that I personally believe will be good, and you can put your input on some of these games also if you have a game that I didn't say. I have them written down, so I'll just read them off.
I'm pulling mine up.
So we have UConn SDSU. UConn's gonna absolutely smoke them.
White.
Illinois Iowa State. That's an interesting game for
Great
sure.
game.
We're gonna keep these brief, these things, because it's almost an hour long. I mean, damn, we've been talking for a minute. Yeah, but number one offense in KenPom, number one defense in KenPom. So that's gonna be a fun matchup. To be honest, it's really just whoever plays better defense. I worry about Illinois Iowa State's offense, just because they haven't been great all year, but their defense is elite. So if they can stop Terrence Shannon and they can slow down Marcus Domask enough to where he doesn't drop like 20, maybe he gets like 10, because he is a streaky player. He's got some time. He's got some games where he's struggled to hit a shot. So I really just think it comes down to whoever plays the better defense. But that should be a fun game to watch. I don't know if the winner of either of these games give a chance to UConn. I think UConn's got an absolute free run now.
Iowa State could give UConn a run for their money.
I mean, I think either of these teams can give a run for their money, but UConn just looks unstoppable. I mean, they're playing games where they're up 20 against Northwestern. They're playing like they're down 1. You know what I mean? They just don't stop. It's just the way they're coached. Dan Hurley has coached his team incredibly well. So yeah, that's that. UNC Alabama, another interesting game. I think UNC wins this game by probably double digits. I think their defense is good enough to slow down Alabama's high-powered offense. And yeah, if Alabama play the way they played against GCU, this game will be a blowout because they kept it in there with GCU, and UNC is not gonna do the things that GCU did. They're a much better coach team. Clemson, Arizona. Not sure that Clemson can keep this up for much longer, but you never know. Arizona, I'm a little bit shaky on. I wasn't a big fan of Arizona coming in just because of the streakiness of their best player, Caleb Love, and Killian Boswell didn't even score last game, and they still came away with a win against Dayton.
I like Caleb Love a lot.
I think Caleb is a good player. I just think that he can shoot you out of a game, and if he has an off game against Clemson, then I think that Clemson comes away with a win here. But it really just all depends on Caleb Love, in my opinion. Houston Duke. This I think is the best second round game. Maybe the second best because I think Creighton Tennessee could be a little bit better. But if Duke plays the way they played against James Madison, this game is going to be an absolute. This game will feed generations if Duke played the way that they did against JMU. Houston, number 2 defense in KenPom, number 5 offense, and number 19 defense in Duke. So they got depth. They both these teams got depth. It's going to be fun to see Julian Roberts and Kyle Filipowski in the post. That's going to be fun. Jared McCain, Tyrese Proctor versus LJ Cryer and Jamal Shed. You got two smaller guards in Shed and Cryer, but they're dogs. Jared McCain, great shooter. Tyrese Proctor, a little bit streaky. But I don't know. I think Houston comes out on top. I personally have Houston as my champion, so I'm rooting for them. But this should be a really good game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm looking forward.
If you have anything to say
about
that.
Matchups, dude.
Yeah. NC State Marquette. I think NC State's Cinderella run ends there. They've won 7 in a row. Are they going to win 8? Marquette's beatable. But Tyler Kolek's playing great right now. Cam Jones, he's always playing great. I think it really just comes down to if they can stop DJ Burns. And I think Oso Ighodaro is good enough to stop DJ Burns. Purdue Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga actually has a pretty good shot here. This could be another really good game. They match up size-wise. They shot the ball really well in the second half against Kansas. And if Purdue isn't stopping the 3, then I think Gonzaga wins this game by at least 7. So that's just my opinion on that. And then Creighton, Tennessee, like I said before, could be the best game of the week. Could also, be the second best. 2 teams, we already talked about it before. 2 teams, great defenses, good enough offenses to keep up with each other. They have, great stars. I just trust Creighton's Big 4 more than I trust Tennessee's Big 4. Because if they can slow down Connect, then I don't think Tennessee has a chance. Plus, Tennessee is just bound to choke. It's bound to happen at some point. Same thing with Houston. I mean, Houston's bound to choke.
Crazy statement, but I see it.
It happens every year, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Most definitely.
All right, well, that's it for episode 3.
Yes,
we'll be back probably, I don't know, maybe we'll do like a day after Sweet 16, right before the Elite 8.
Same thing we did
right after the Elite 8. I don't really know. I don't know. I'm not sure if we'll do like just Sweet 16 only and just Elite 8 only, or I don't even know what I just said. Just Sweet 16 only or just Elite 8 only, or we just do both in one like we did with this one. But I feel like it would be a lot easier if we just do it matchup by matchup like that, like Elite 8, Sweet 16. But we'll see. We'll see what time permits. So yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching or listening, whichever one you're doing, and see you guys